Greetings, everyone. Today I've got a very interesting topic. I just want to talk about how do you ensure or what do you do for God to be able to answer you? Because how you do it matters a lot. You need to really come to a point where you tune to a frequency. The number of occurrences in which you actually communicate with God in the same way that He understands your frequency level, how you communicate with Him, so that He can be able to meet you at the point of your needs. Now listen to this one. A frequency has got megahertz or hertz, whatever you can call it. You've got a frequency which has got megahertz. Then you get another frequency with megahertz. So how you need to do this for God to understand you, to listen to you and be able to respond? You need to have the different frequencies. And I'm going to touch on about few of the frequencies so that you understand what is it that you do or say or act for God to answer you. You've got different kinds of frequency. You name them, they're innumerable, unlimited. There's a lot of frequencies. But let's get to this one. Let's tackle these frequencies. And the first one is called the frequency of prayer. Frequency of prayer, that is when you kneel down, when you close your eyes, when you talk to God, pouring out. And the frequency of prayer has got different megahertz. I'm going to label 3 out of the frequency of prayer. 3 megahertz out of this is the frequency of prayer. I'll label 3 megahertz belonging to the frequency of prayer. The first frequency of prayer, we've got megahertz number 1, which is called a request prayer. Meaning, because you need something, because you want something, because you want God to do something, you request as a subsection of prayer to say, God, I request this, may you humbly provide. That is the megahertz attached to the prayer. And you've got the second megahertz attached to prayer, which is a prayer of appreciating God. Meaning you are saying to God, God, you are omnipresent, you are omnipotent. You are the mighty God, you are the great God. You are I am that I am. You are Jehovah Tsuri. You are Jehovah Shalom. You are Jehovah Kapayim. You are Jehovah Kwadosh. You are talking to God and saying, God, how great you are. You worship Him. You appreciate Him. You acknowledge Him as God. You tell Him how big is He beyond all gods. He's the only God that you bow down to. That is a megahertz of appreciating God. Remember the first one we said, a request megahertz. You were requesting things from God. The second one is the appreciation of God megahertz. Then you've got the third megahertz. The third megahertz. Yes, megahertz. Third megahertz from that frequency, which is a prayer of forgiveness. Meaning you have done something that's not in line with God, or you have done something that is unrighteous, or you have done something that does not excite God. And then you pray and say, God, and to this day, for me committing what is unholy, what is unhealthy to your kingdom, I ask for forgiveness to you above. I believe that my sins are forgiven. That is a megahertz of forgiveness. So under the frequency, we had the first megahertz, which is a megahertz of request. We had the second megahertz, which is the megahertz of appreciating God. We had the third megahertz, which is the megahertz of appreciation, of megahertz of forgiveness. So you can call them prayer. Prayer of request, 1. Prayer of appreciating God, 2. Prayer of forgiveness. And you have another megahead. Main megahead, the megahead of talking to God. Here you are not praying. Here you are not praying. Your eyes are not closed. Your eyes are open. You talk to God verbally or imaginary or psychologically. You talk to God. You've got a conversation with God. He's your Father. You want Him. You are seeing. You are looking at Him. You change. You've got an exchange of words. You conversate with your Father. You are talking to God. It's another frequency of actually talking to God, exchanging with your Father, a dialogue. Then you've got another frequency. It's called fatherly frequency. Fatherly frequency means by virtue of God being your Father, He will provide what you require. Interesting. What it means, I'll give an example. When you've got a child who's going to school and the child require or need school shoes, the child will not go to the neighbor to ask for school shoes. The child will come to you as a father and say, Father, I am asking for school shoes. But the child have got every right not to call or to use the word I am asking. Because why? By biological means, you are a father to the child. Therefore, the child used the word I ask because of respect. But in essence, even if your child does not ask, if you realize that he doesn't have school shoes, by virtue of you being a father, you will provide. What am I trying to say? We talk to God as our Father because we know we are the progeny of God. And therefore, He will neither leave us nor forsake us, as the Bible says. We are His children. He loves us. And therefore, He will not allow us to fail. The statements say you never go down when you have or when you are doing it with God. Why? Because God is the Father. God is the foreseer. He covers you as a child that He gave birth to. For that reason, that is why we call it a fatherly frequency. If I come to God, I say, Father, you know my desires. You know my needs. May it be so. He will honor you because you are a son. You are a daughter. You are from His birthright. That is why it's called a fatherly frequency. Then we've got another frequency is called massaging God's heart frequency. Massaging God's heart frequency. What does that mean? In the book of Samuel, God says, I have found a man after my own heart. What it means is, God says, I found someone who was able to enter into my body, who was able to touch my heart and massage it. Jesus, and massage it. The requester, my son, is giving me peace. Through him, nations are delivered. Through him, people who are not eating by now, they've got something to eat. Through him, I am known as God. Through him, the right things are done for the right purpose. And therefore, he has massaged my heart as God. And by so doing, attending to that frequency, tuning in the spirit, tuning in that frequency of massaging God's heart, God has no choice but to return back and say, my son, for doing what you have done, I've got no option but to honor you. I've got no option to repay you. I've got no option to lift you higher. I've got no option to make you the greatest. Then you've got another frequency. It's called extending hand frequency. Extending hand frequency. What does it mean? In the book of Proverbs, it says, a giving hand is a receiving hand. What it means, when you have got a giving hand, a giving heart, the fact that you give, you extend your hand to other people for their survival, for their well-being, for knowing God. God says, it's not me, it's the Bible. It says, if you give, you will receive thousandfolds. Meaning, for God to remember you, for God to give you more. Don't be stingy. Give what you have. God will duplicate what you had. It's as simple as that is the Bible. You need to extend your hand to other people. You need to extend your hand to other people for God to be able to increase you more. As I say, these are the frequencies that you need to tune in at a higher level for God to be able to look at you, for God to identify you, for God to see you. There's another frequency that's called reminding frequency. Reminding frequency. A frequency of reminding. What is that? It means you need to understand that God does not have a time waiting for you to understand that you are in need of certain things. He's got plenty to do. He will not leave his throne. Where are you going, God, to heaven? To do what? I'm thinking of this guy. No. That is why Hezekiah, God sent a messenger to him to tell Hezekiah that his days are numbered. It was supposed to be a one-way in the spiritual realm, whereby when God talked to you, you will already know that God knows. When you have to send the message back to God, God already knew. There's no need to send back. But God did it intentionally so that it became a physical communication between him and Hezekiah. He sent someone so that Hezekiah can respond and say, no, please go and remind God that doesn't he remember what I've done for him as Hezekiah for his kingdom. When the message went back to God, God said, I will increase his lifespan by another 15 years. But the reality is that God knew what Hezekiah's response will be. For sure. He knew even before they brought back the message from Hezekiah what Hezekiah is saying. But what God did, he understood that he need to shake the realm of reminding from Hezekiah. Because Hezekiah did everything for God, but however, never reminded God. And God said, no, I will not just bless Hezekiah. I will not just add years to Hezekiah. He needs to come to his senses and understand that I, God, need to be remembered. When he went to shake Hezekiah by this messenger informing Hezekiah, it was God trying to inform Hezekiah to say, listen, my man, I'm alive. I'm here. Take cognizance of me as God. Pull up your socks. Understand that I am God. Reminding frequency. Hezekiah started shaking up and saying, no, please go and tell God that I've done a lot. Which is where God wants you and me to understand that if you have done the greatest to God, don't remind other human beings or inform other human beings what greatest things you have done to God. It's of no use. Talk to your Father in private and he will answer you in public. I don't know if you get that. By virtue of God being God, he had every right to answer and not to answer. He could have as well said, I cannot increase your lifespan. But he had no choice. Why? Because Hezekiah paid attention to the shaking of being reminded. And he said, oh Lord, now I remember what I've done for you. Please don't remember. Lord, don't you remember? And when it came down to God, it activated God's, to look at those frequencies, that frequency and say, Hezekiah, now you remember everything that you have done for me. But I wanted it to come physically out of your mouth to remind me. He is God. He will remain God forever. He will stay God. And for that reason, this frequency message, want all of you to understand that there's different ways in which you tune in. You can increase the volume of a sound. You can increase the volume. But as long as you didn't tune in to the frequency, you will not get the message across. The message will not come to you. So you first increase the volume and realize that there's a way that God hears you around, and you tune into the frequency. I've already spoke of 6 to 7. You tune into the frequency. As soon as you tune to the frequency, it will kick in the megahertz where it will give you the communication between me, you, and God. God does not work with a situation where he just responds. The megahertz and the frequency are not activated by themselves. They expect someone to push so that there can be an incoming message. And that's how God operates. I still repeat that we talk of the frequencies of God that will allow us to get what we deserve. That will allow us to be remembered by God. That will allow us to be seen in the realm of the Spirit. That will allow us to make God listen to us. That will allow us for God to have a feeling for us. That will allow us for God to have grace on us. I believe you all got the message about the frequency, and I believe many will be encouraged. Many now know how to tune in into the realm of the frequency to play with the megahertz A frequency, it's a sound wave that goes up and down, but actually break at equilibrium to be the same. And that is what you try to achieve when you talk to God. Different frequency with megahertz to be able to get a proper correspondence with God. I hope you are encouraged. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Motlatsi Jack Nkokhatsi. Please subscribe and like and share. Thank you for listening.